Hey guys, welcome back. This is History of Futurama Season 1, Episode 3 of my show, but this is about Episode 2, and Episode 2 in the first season of Futurama is known as The Series That Landed. Now, but before I start talking about it, I just want to mention, I'm sorry I didn't post a video during the week last week, just because of the fact that I would have posted this one earlier. I would have posted this one last week, but I didn't get the chance to because I would have posted it on the weekend, but I had a funeral to go to because one of the participants here at Day Programming, James, he passed away on Easter and stuff, so that's sort of why I didn't get a chance to upload a video at that point, so I'm sorry about that. But I'm making up for it by doing one now and stuff. So I'm gonna record and upload this now, and then tomorrow I'll do the next Futurama video for this channel after lunch and stuff. But I just wanted to get those small details there out of the way. Anyway, now getting into the actual episode. This is History of Futurama Season 1, Episode 3 of my show, but this is about Episode 2, and Episode 2 is known as The Series Has Landed. And basically, the way this episode first starts off is Professor Farnsworth tells Fry, Leela, and Bender that as new employees, he wants their opinion on what they think of his new commercial, and he had it be paid to have it aired during the Super Bowl, but not on the same channel, of course. And then he plays the commercial from the videotape, and then basically what happens is, which is basically, the commercial is basically first a blob shows up and asks the guy that he thinks is Evans where his package is from Earth, and then the blob swallows him after he doesn't give him an answer, and then the guy says that he's not Evans, and then the blob says that he should have used Planet Express, and then the announcer basically explains that those other delivery companies are not up to doing the dangerous deliveries and stuff, and Planet Express is, and they say that at the end of the commercial, then it shows the segment with the blob again, and the guy that is Evans this time in the commercial basically said that, "Here's your package, Mr. Horrible Gelatinous Blob." And then basically the blob tells him that Evans that he's got a future in here, and then basically the way the commercial ends in the episode is the announcer said that Planet Express, their crew is replaceable. Their customer's package isn't, and then there's this giant bird that flies off with a human body at the end of the commercial because it's the same one that got carried off by the bird when he delivered the package to the door. And then after Fry sees that, he's like, "Is there really giant birds like that?" And then Farnsworth tries to nonchalantly say that there isn't, he's like, no, that was only special effects. But the funny thing is, there actually is, because of what he says next. He's asking them that they should have breakfast, and he hopes everyone likes eggs. And the reason why I say that's ironic is because what happens is, oh my god, I'm sorry, but what happens is when he goes into the kitchen to get the eggs, they're basically giant eggs. Basically, they're giant bird eggs from the bird from the commercial system. Oh, not really a special effect. It's the same. It's actually real. And one of the birds, the chicks from the eggs, hatches and starts gobbling on his head. And that's where the beginning segment of this episode ends. And then basically, what happens is after that, basically, Hermes, this Jamaican bureaucrat, shows up with a package to deliver, and then basically, when Farnsworth sees Hermes, he introduces the crew to him, and then basically he meant, this is what I did when I did the character bio video for this series. He's the one who manages his delivery company, manages Farnsworth's delivery company, like, notifies next of kin, etc., pays the bills, so on and so forth. And then Hermes basically said that someone came by to drop off this package through the slot last night, and he wonders who the captain is, and then basically, Farnsworth says that he hasn't chosen a captain yet, and then it's always so difficult. Oh, and I believe it's this episode, but when Fry's eating breakfast at the, like, well, I don't think it's actually this episode, but I know it's one of the episodes in the first season. He mentions about, basically what happens is, when Hermes mentions about the package, he tells them that someone and then dropped off the package to the slot last night, and which one of them is the captain, and then Farnsworth says that he hasn't chosen a captain yet because it's so difficult, and while Fry and the others are having breakfast and stuff, basically that's when Farnsworth is choosing him, and then Fry sees him being pointed, and then he says he wonders if he's the one that's getting chosen, but then he chooses Leela to be the one to deliver the package, and then basically what happens is after that, Fry and Bender get a little disappointed by that, and then basically what happens is after that, basically, Hermes goes with Leela to a separate portion of the office where he has her fill out a standard legal release protecting Planet Express for any lawsuits in the unforeseen, like, deaths and basically all of these are basically like deaths, and he said, because that's basically what's happened to all the other crews. They basically died working for Professor Farnsworth, and after Leela reads through all of them, she's like, look, I don't know about your previous captains, but I intend to do as less dying as humanly possible. And then basically, when Hermes sees that, he makes a laugh about that, and he says to sign the paper. And the reason why he wants her to sign it is because it's like I said, it's a legal release. It's protecting them for in fact that they do die, which in this case she doesn't, because they never died in the series and stuff. So unlike Farnsworth's previous crew, and then basically, what happens is after that, what happens after that is basically, Farnsworth sends Fry over to their staff doctor, who is Dr. Zoidberg, because he tells them that before he goes into space, he needs to see their staff doctor, and he warns him that he's kind of weird, and he's unusual, and what's unusual about him is that he wears sandals. Oh my god, I mentioned that in the character bio. It's just kind of funny, I just think it. Anyway, what happens is, Farnsworth introduces Zoidberg to Fry, and then basically what happens is, introduces Farnsworth to Fry, and then basically what happens is he tells Zoidberg that he needs a physical before he goes into space, and then he says excellent, and then he does this examination with him, and he tells him to open his mouth and let them have a look, and let's have a look at his brain, and he opens his mouth, but Zoidberg's then like, no, not that mouth. This is so hilarious because he thinks that humans have more than one mouth, which is not true because they only have one mouth. Anyway, then Fry says that he only has one. And then when Zoidberg hears that, he's astounded by it, and he's like, then Fry basically asks him like, is there a human doctor I can talk to? And then Zoidberg's like, young lady, I am an expert on humans. Now pick a mouth, open it, and say, do-do-do-do-do. And then Fred's like, and then Zoidberg gets upset with him by that. He's like, what? My mother was a saint. Get out. And so he leaves the medical room, and then basically Fry makes a joke about, after leaving, saying that the doctor said that he's as healthy as a crab, and that's what happens. That actually leads into what happens with Farnsworth. That's why I mentioned it first. Basically what happens is Farnsworth is cleaning Bender out before they send him into space, and when he sees Bender like that, he's like, my lord, Bender, you're filthy. And then basically what happens is that's when Fry and then Bender says, right, like you don't have crap in your head. That's actually because he's a robot, and robots have detachable heads, so it's possible for them to get stuff stuck in them. And then basically when Fry gets back, he says that he makes a joke about him being with Zoidberg for his physical. He's like, Doc says I'm as healthy as a crab. So can I go into space now? And then Farnsworth explains that basically after they're done cleaning Bender, and then he introduces Fry to Amy, who is an engineering student, who's an intern at the Planet Express crew, and also an engineering student of Farnsworth's, and then he explains that he likes having her around because she had the same blood type as him. Oh my god. And then after that what happens is when Amy sees Fry, she's like, hey, you're that unfrozen guy from the 20th century, right? And then he says last time he checked, and then basically then they start to go deliver the package, and then basically Fry wonders where they're going to deliver the package, and then Leela says that it's nowhere special, the moon. And then he's like, but when Fry overhears that, he's like, the moon, like the moon, and then because to him the moon is important, because it's, because in his timeline there was a lot of stuff that happened, like Neil Armstrong landing on the moon and stuff like that. So it's sort of like it's a big deal to him that he's going on the moon and stuff, like an astronaut. So in his case, I kind of understand, but to them it's not a big deal. And now the reason why they're going to the moon to deliver a package, this is actually going to sound kind of funny, but the reason why they're going to the moon to deliver a package is actually because in this series there's oh my god, there's an amusement park called Luna Park on the moon. Oh my god. I'm sorry, it's funny. they have a moon, a theme park on the moon that they call Luna Park. Now the reason why I say that's funny is because a lunar is just another way of saying moon. So anyway, after Fry and the others take off and go to the moon to deliver the package, Fry wants to go see it as fast as possible, and then Leela says, "Relax, it's open till 9." Because it's a theme park thing, so it's parks have to stay open for a set time frame. And then basically when Fry steps out of the ship onto the moon, he's like, "That's one small step for Fry," and then the guy gets annoyed with him and it says, "One giant line for admission." And then basically, well, what happened was, when they were going to deliver the package, basically Amy decided to go with them. And then that's when Leela told her that she wanted her to be careful. She'd like to avoid any screw-ups, at least until her second day as captain, which is kind of true, because if they have any screw-ups on the first mission, it would be a bit of a pain in the neck. So in this case, I understand. Anyway, Farnsworth then says, I'm just backtracking to the part where they were still on Earth just because I sort of skimmed over it. But anyway, Farnsworth said that nothing will go wrong, but then he whispers in Leela's ear that if something does go wrong, bring back the blood. And then this leads into what I was saying before I had to backtrack. Anyway, after Fry sees the crowd of people on the moon going into the amusement park, he tells the others about it, and he says that and then Leela said it's the happiest place off Earth, and then basically, well, one of them, it's either Amy or Leela, but one of them says that it's the heaviest place off Earth, and then they they lower the crate. Amy uses the magnet to lower the crate onto the moon's surface so that they can deliver the package, which is basically a package that's filled with toys for, I'm guessing, toys that are for one of those machines where you use that joystick button and you press down like a claw grab prize machine kind of thing. Anyway, but the funny thing is about that, when they were bringing the package down, the magnet part of it first knocked Container on the head a little bit, and then got the keys to the ship accidentally stuck on it, because magnets attract any type of form of metal, so the keys to the ship accidentally landed inside the same box. Now the reason why I'm bringing that up is because it leads into a funny segment of the episode for the rest of it with Amy and stuff, and then basically when they go to deliver the package on the moon, basically what happens is Fry then basically picks up one of these, kind of like refrigerator magnets, and then he puts it on Bender because he wants Bender to have a souvenir, but Bender doesn't want it to be put on him, but Fry puts it on him, and then after he says that, he's like, uh-oh, and then he starts singing in a folk singer type accent, like he's singing folk music, shooter with, and she comes and stuff like that, and then they take the magnet off Bender, and it's like, keep that thing away from me. Magnets screw up my inhibition unit. And then when Fry overhears that, he's like, and when they do, you freak out and act like some kind of folk singer? And then basically Ben was like, yes, I guess a robot would have to be crazy to want to be a folk singer. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. And, basically what happens is they basically explore the moon and stuff, and basically what happens is they go to this comedy segment for the moon, which is basically these robotic animatronic like beavers and stuff, and the beaver makes like one of those jokes like he's like, what makes a moon rock different than an earth rock? And then the beaver said the punchline of the joke is, because it's a little meteor. But then Fry says that it's weak, and then one of the beavers that laughed afterward after the joke was done is like, address all complaints to the Monsanto Corporation. And then while they're on the moon on one of the other rides, basically what happens is basically what happens is Bender meets up with this robot that he met in high school that works at the Luna Park. Now, speaking of Bender, first, before I continue, he actually has a little bit of a funny encounter with sort of the mascot for the park itself called Craterface. And Craterface is like, hi there, I'm Craterface. Welcome to Luna Park. I have to confiscate your alcohol, sir. And then Bender says, the better mascot than him have tried. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's so hilarious. Better mascots than you have tried. Oh my god, I'm sorry, that's hilarious. And then he puts the beer bottle in the Craterface mascot sign and he's like, at least I still have my self-respect. And then he starts laughing and then starts crying afterward. And then basically, what happens is Bender and Fry and Leela first are on this ride where, and then the robots, the animatronic robots that are on the ride are singing that song, and then one of the robots sees Bender and then he's like, Bender, hey Bender, and then Bender's like, oh jeez, I went to high school with that guy. And basically, the song that they're singing is, we're whalers on the moon, we carry a harpoon, but there ain't no whales, so we sing tall tales and... So we tell tall tales and sing our whaling tune. And then basically what happens is, Fry gets annoyed by the way the moon looks and he wants to go see the real one, but they say that they can't because it's in a park. And then Leela makes a suggestion about having him go on the lunar rover ride because it's on a track, but you get to see the real moon, and the lines for the moon for the ride are short because it's educational. But Fry then says that he doesn't care how educational it is, he wants to go, and then so he and Leela go for the lunar rover ride, and then basically they start learning about the moon. And this is kind of where this actually gets confusing, and I kind of have to agree with Fry in this case, because basically what happens is the automated guy is saying that the story of the travel to the moon happened with one man, a man with a dream, and then basically shows that honeymooners, an old TV show, black and white TV show, I believe the show is called The Honeymooners. You know, that one with Ralph and his wife Alice, and where he makes that joke about beating his wife, where he's like, one of these days, Alice, bang, zoom, straight to the moon. And then basically, when at first when Leela sees that, she thinks that's impressive, but then Fry tells her that basically that's not how it happened. It's that's not how the dream of going to the moon happened. That's just a TV comedian, and he uses the moon and he just uses the moon as a metaphor for beating his wife, which is actually kind of true in this case. And then basically afterward, what happens while Fry's on the ride even more, he starts to get a little annoyed with the ride, because what happens is after that, the automated voice thing says that no one knows where, when, or how man first landed on the moon. But then Fry's like, I do. And then he says, but then the automated voice doesn't hear them, and he says that if engineers think it happens something like this, and then they start singing that stupid whalers on the moon, we carry a harpoon. And then Fry gets annoyed with that and says that that's not how it happened, and then basically he was like, oh really? I don't see you with the engineering degree. This is where I also sort of got annoyed with this episode back when I watched it on TV, and I also got a little annoyed with it watching it on Disney Plus. Just because he doesn't have some sort of degree doesn't mean that he doesn't know what happened on the moon. It's just, in this case, it's actually kind of stupid, but it's justifiable that he's angry with them for making something like that up, you know? Because we all know, like, even people here in Canada, we know how man first landed on the moon years ago. So I understand that for a person from the 20th century seeing something like that make a mockery of how man first landed on the moon, because they didn't know how, because it was before their time. So they make something up like that. It's just irritating, but that's just my personal opinion on it. Anyway, after that, Fry says that he wants to get off of the ride and take. He says that the ride stinks, and he wants to take the car onto the real moon. And then basically, what happens is Lita says they can't because the car's on the track, and then Fry then uses one of the animatronic robots' little machines to veer the cart off the track, and then in the process of doing that afterward, he runs over one of them, and then the animatronic robot is like, I died doing what I loved. And then Leela gives him a set time limit before he'll get bored, turn around and apologize for doing something like this. And then basically he said that that's okay, and then basically what happens is he's asking her to turn on the radio, so she turns it on, and then basically but it's annoying to him because it's that same Whalers on the Moon, we carry a Bruin song over and over again, and then basically so they turn it off. And then after some time driving around, Leela tells Fry that his time for joyriding on the moon with the cart is up. He's yet to make a U-turn at the last crater, but he said that he doesn't want to because he wants her to see the original moon landing site, and he said that's impossible, it's been lost for centuries and stuff. Oh, now I should actually get into the segment with Amy. Remember what happened when they were delivering the package and the magnet conked her on the head and that caused the keys to get put into the basket? Basically because of that, what happened is she's at this the claw machine where the prizes are in, trying to get the keys out of the machine for the ship and then stuff. I just wanted to get that out of the way because in the ending segment of this episode, it's going to play a hand in what happens. But anyway, getting back into it with Fry and Leela, what happens is they're walking on the moon when it's because they don't have their go-kart anymore to use, and then basically because they crashed the go-kart, and then basically what happens is after that, it's, guy says that they're not dead, and then Leela showed them that their oxygen tank is out and that they are gonna die now. And basically what happens is after that they walk around the moon and they find this farm that's on the moon that's owned by this man that has a gun that has 3 robot daughters basically, and then he makes them work for him in order for exchange for giving them oxygen in order to leave the moon, but he says they have to wait until morning, which in this case on the moon night lasts about 2 weeks, which is kind of stupid. So they kind of have to work for a bit in order to get them. And then he's telling them that they can't touch. He's telling them that they can't touch his 3 beautiful robot daughters, and then basically, and then he introduces them, and then after that, Leela tells them that basically, I told you to go back to the park, but oh no, the park is too phony. We had to see the real moon. And then basically Fry's saying that it was great, and they were able to see the crater, and there were a couple of craters, and then one thing that looked like a crater, and these things, which are the bugalo, which are basically the series' version of buffalo, except they're bugs, basically. And then Leela tells them that tells Fry that he's got to face back. The moon is a dried up, cut the old rock, and the only reason people come to it is for the cheesy fake amusement park. And then basically afterward, what happens is basically this is actually gonna sound kind of funny, but after Bender, I'm just backtracking with Bender here, because basically what happens is he gets thrown into the amusement park after causing a ruckus, and then he says, fine, I'll go build my own amusement park. And then basically he's walking around the empty portion of the moon, and then basically what happens is after that, what happens after that is basically that's when he ends up living with the robot known as the Crushinator, and then he's running into the place where Fry and Leela are, and then basically when Fry sees him running, he's like, oh, Bender, you didn't touch the Crushinator, did you? And then Bender says, of course not. And then basically the farmer that's there is chasing him because of the fact that he's leaving with the Crushinator, and then basically they start running, and then basically what happens after that is basically what happens after that is the farmer chases them, and then after they get away from them a little bit, he's like, oh no, you don't come here, Crushinator. And then the Crushinator is like, yes, Paul. And then he transforms into this car-like thing, and he chases after them. But and then they chase after them on the go-kart, and then basically what happens is but when they drive towards where it is, he gets to a crevice after the car jumps, and the Crushinator doesn't want to jump. Their father's like wanting him to jump. He's like, go darn it, Crushinator, jump! And he's like, no, Paul, I love him. And then they manage to find the landing site thing, and then basically what happens is after that, Fry gets ecstatic after seeing it, and then Leela tells him that it's just a plastic flag in the ground and a dead bootman's prints in the ground. uh, so and he wants her to get back inside before night happens, or he's leaving her, or she's leaving him outside. And then he goes in there, and then basically, afterward, basically when Bender sees that, he's like, "Oh, no room for Bender, huh? Well, that's fine. I'll just go build my own room over where there's blackjack." And he basically said the same thing that he said when he got thrown out of the theme park. And then basically, what happens is, if the oxygen Leela said that if the oxygen holds out, that it could be fine for a little bit. And then Fry says that he's sorry, that he shouldn't have dragged Leela out here. And then Leela says that he's right, he shouldn't have, and she still doesn't see what the big attraction is. And then he tells her that basically he never told anyone this, but he always dreamed about being an astronaut, but he just didn't have the grades or the skills. And the girl would spend a week with him and stuff. And then basically Leela says that a week is would be a little much. And then basically Fry mentions about how the moon was this astounding thing, and then basically, because it's been up in the sky far away from the planet, and then basically Fry then tells Leela that she's right. Once you get here, it's just a dumb old space rock. And then basically what happens is, after that, she sees what the view is actually like from the moon to Earth, and then she says that it is beautiful. And then basically what happens is, Bender is still running from exhaustion, like he's walking away after being exhausted, and then the farmer guy shows up, and then basically what happens is he's like, "Oh, you did? You could dance the Trashinator, huh, robot?" And he basically chases him in this lawnmower thing, like one of those lawnmower things that they use on farms and stuff. And then afterward, that's when Amy comes in with the ship. And then basically, Fry's surprised by that, and then Leela is also surprised by it, and then she wonders how Amy managed to fly that thing. And then basically what happens is, after that, the reason how she's flying it is she's flying it like when she was pulling that toy machine to get the keys out of them using the magnet. And then after she picks Fry and Leela up using the magnet, that when they're on the lunar rover, she goes to pick Bender up, but Bender doesn't want to get picked up by the magnet, and he's like, "Not the magnet, no." And then it touches him, and then he starts acting like a folk singer again. And then basically, while he's being a folk singer, he says he'll kill Amy. And then basically, after that, the farmer gets upset that they escaped, and he accidentally throws off his helmet. It's like, "Oh, dang it!" And then, but him throwing off the helmet is what actually causes him to, because he's undoing, because he basically chokes to death. And then while Bender is still singing folk songs, while he's still affected by the magnet because he's attached to it, Leela asks Fry if the moon is just as good as anything he thought it would be. And then basically he says somewhat, and then that's basically where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can, and I will see you guys, probably not tomorrow for the next video, but the day after tomorrow for the next video. But until then, guys, just, have a nice day and everything, and like I always tell you with this series, fun on the bun.